We embark on a journey that begins with 3 chefs in search of other up-and-coming chefs in Philadelphia. We exchange ideas with other professionals, revealing their story through their unique cuisine.
Stringi tra i denti quei tuoi pensieri che lisci come l'olio vanno in fondo alla pancia, quelli di ieri speri non risalgano mai più nella gola, per non dover poi dire mai più quel che pensi a me, che non so più capire te.
Hi, I'm Anna Florio. Welcome to La Cucina at the Market. We're here tonight with butcher Charles Giunta and chef Eric Brascovaz, and we're going to be talking about how to prepare lamb. La Cucina at the Market is a demonstration culinary facility here in the Reading Terminal where we feature lots of the goods that can be found here in the market. We're really lucky we have the best and freshest and mostly local ingredients.
What I made from the whole carcass and the primal and sub-primal cuts, we're going to make some retail cuts. First, we're going to start with a rack of lamb. We're going to go back to the rack, and I'm going to French this rack of lamb. We're going to trim the bottom backbone out here. We're going to pull the outside covering off. This meat is considered to be the cap meat because it's the cap of the rack. It's good for grinding. You can stew it. What we would do with all these trimmings basically is just trim them down, lean them out as best possible, and use it for grinding. So what I'm doing is I'm Frenching the rack of lamb to expose the rib bones.
Have you ever heard of that technique? People take like a piece of twine and tie it around
Yeah.
and pull it off?
Well, that is
effective?
It's effective because what that achieves is that you don't leave any meat on the bone.
Okay.
You take that off.
Okay.
If I was going to a top-notch French restaurant, I would want the rack of lamb trimmed perfectly because you're going to, pay top dollar for it. There you go. This is a perfectly trimmed 8-rib rack of lamb, French rack of lamb on the ribs, on the bone, and you take this and you broil this or prepare this or cook very quickly. I would leave this very little light coating of fat on there. Just
Why is that?
Well, because the seasoning would stick to this more, and as this melts down, that seasoning that you're put on there goes and flavors this meat.
Okay.
This is a really young lamb. You could tell by the color. The color is nice and bright, kind of has like a rosy color to it. If it was an older lamb, it would be darker. The meat would be much darker, red looking.
Now, what's the best way to cook that traditionally that enhances the most flavor? Medium rare?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I am a fan of rare to medium rare and do not like any of my meats overcooked. The more you're cooking, the more flavors leave in the meat. So now we have some other cuts. These are the more economical shoulder chops. This scrapes the bone dust off of the meat. This here residue that you see is the bone dust from the saw.
Okay.
This is an economical lamb chop that could be used as a chop. You can cook this medium rare. However, it can be put in the oven and broiled.
Okay.
It's best to cook them, to bake them with a little bit of liquid to tenderize them, because these shoulder cuts are just not as good as the rack, the loin chops. They came from a square cut chuck of lamb, right? I would cook this medium, but as opposed to medium rare. With that square cut chuck of lamb, you get 2 cuts. You get the blade, so you can see the blade here. This is the blade and the shoulder chop right there. And this is the round bone chop. That's what it's supposed to look like. That's a round bone chop. And that's a good piece of meat. Can be broiled. I wouldn't eat it as rare as I would this French rack of lamb. But remember, this is $5 a pound as opposed to $14, $15 a pound. Now you go to the loin. Not quite as desirable as this baby, but still a step above here. This is still, you're still in the higher upper echelon. So this is a lamb porterhouse. Very popular on a lot of finer restaurants, steakhouses always offer lamb porterhouse chops, which is just a loin of lamb, loin lamb chop. I always leave a little bit of fat because a little bit of fat adds a lot of flavor. It's definitely not the most expensive. The most expensive cut on the lamb is the racks, but this is $9.95 a pound.
Now, could you like tie that off, almost trust it, and then sear it off so it would keep in that shape?
Well, it doesn't really have to. I mean, you know, I would just put that in the, under the broiler with a little salt, pepper, and garlic, and cook that about 5 minutes per side. You got a great dinner.
You could serve that medium rare
Yes,
as well?
yes, you can.
Cool.
I just wondered, Charles, is that the thickness that you would look for in a loin lamb chop?
That, depending on how you like it. Now, remember, I'm a custom butcher, so if you like them more well done, we would cut them a little thinner. If you like them more rare, I could make it a little thicker. For the most part, what we put in the case is that size, because I think that pretty much could satisfy everyone's taste and desired cookness, and yet still be delicious. So now I have what's left of the leg here, after I gave Chef Eric the part to make the tartare, and I'm going to make a boneless lamb roast. Boneless leg of lamb, like as if it was for Easter dinner. How nice. I'm removing the femur bone. In the wintertime, we sell a lot of different type bones. Customers ask for beef bones, lamb bones, veal bone is the most popular to make a stock, to make veal stock or demi-glaze. You know, actually cook it down to the point to get demi-glaze. But lamb bones also make a very good rich stock. My brother and I are 4 generations, so we've been doing this forever. This part that I'm taking off, like this skin, is referred to as the fell. I don't know where that name came from, but there's a part of the lamb, because lambs have wool, there's a part underneath their skin and where above where the fat and the flesh start. That is this here. Now, this is the part that usually, when it's not trimmed from the lamb, makes the lamb somewhat foul tasting. So when people say, oh, I don't like lamb because it's strong, they say it's strong or it's foul tasting, it's usually because this hasn't been taken off. In the leg here, there's a little gland, which is partial to most, you know, all animals have this little gland. See that little gland in there? It sits in the pocket here, right in the leg. And there's another one here on the hip. We have to get these out. There's no benefit to leave them there. It's much easier for me to remove them to ensure that my customer has a good experience with what they bought. So I'm going to get some string here, and we're going to make a nice little tied roast. You can cube it up and make great cubes for like kebabs.
Okay.
That would be delicious.
Would you suggest if you wanted to do that to
Yes,
use the leg?
it would be the ideal cut simply because there's the most pieces of solid meat. And this is how we sell a boneless leg of lamb. This is $6.99 a pound, and it yields good because there's very little fat, there's no bone, so it's all edible. There's no waste here.
Make it for the holidays.
This is a roughly a 4-pound leg of lamb. It cost roughly, let's say, $28, and would feed 6 to 8 people generously. If I was making it for my home use, I would season it a little bit more first. But we don't sell it seasoned simply because people have so many issues with is just too much salt, or they can't have pepper, or allergies. You know, it's easy enough to. It is nice to put seasoning on the inside of it, but if you season it right around on the exterior, it'll be just as good. Can always stick a few cloves of garlic in it for flavor. The reason for tying it, number one, it gives it somewhat of an artisan type look, but it also shapes it and holds it better so that it cooks more, because you have a thick center and then the ends kind of get shallow. So we kind of tuck them under and to try to get it even so that it cooks evenly. So now we have a more even piece of meat. So there you go, boneless leg of lamb, ready for the oven.
Quel che pensi pensi a me che non so più capire